Jannah. But now the fifth stage, the active resistance, and now the sixth and the final, the armed conflict has begun. Now it must continue. قَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ. Till that time, that all persecution finishes up. وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. And the deen, the system, it should become totally for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No division of the system. الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ. We have read that ayah. The way system is one. The whole life, all aspects of human life, collective as well as individual, should come under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are two things. حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ. Whenever you are a truly believing mu'min, he is in the environmental circumstances where the deen of Allah is not established. So he finds difficulty to practice the deen. The environment is not, cooperating with him. And this is fitna. This is trial. You can't practice your deen. You can say prayers, but you can't establish the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't chop off the hands of the thieves, can you? That means you are not enforcing the deen of Allah. You are acting upon the deen of Allah only partially. So these two things, persecution should come to an end. Number one, a Muslim should be able to have his deen as a whole, organic whole, not a part of it. And this whole deen should become under Allah. His command, His sovereignty, kingdom of heaven on earth. To establish that kingdom of Allah on earth, the rule of Allah on earth, or according to the biblical terminology, kingdom of heaven on earth. Now this phase, final phase of armed conflict has started, and it should continue. The final goal is that the deen of Allah be established in totality. وَقَاتِلُهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ فَإِنِ انْتَهَوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا يَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And if they stop, if they don't resist, they desist from opposing, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing what they are doing. It means now you also stop. If the deen has become dominant, well, if they want to live as Christians or Jews, they can live. But the deen will be dominant. Dominant deen will be of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happened, 50 years back in the Indian subcontinent? The deen belonged to whom? The Britishers, whose law was enforced. Who were the rulers? So deen was for them. And for us was only a freedom. You can pray, go to the mosques. You can keep fast during Ramadan. But the law will be British law. Will you be governed by sword or by pen? Do you remember this word? So what was the deen? Deen was of Britishers. Only religion we could practice in the limited sphere. You can have anything as beliefs, your dogma, your modes of worship, you can have them. That is why, Allama Iqbal, in a very sarcastic andaz, sarcastic style, he said, मुल्ला को जो है हिंद में सजदे की इजाजत, नादा ये समझता है कि इस्लाम है आजाद. Because mullah is free to pray to Allah, go to mosque, say the azan, he thinks mistakenly that Islam is azad. Islam is not azad. Islam is in chains. Islam is dominated by the Britishers. The real domination is for the Britishers. In the same way, everywhere, sovereignty belongs to the masses. The majority will decide the rule. Whatever they decide, that will be the law of the land. So it's not the rule of Allah. Nowhere in Muslim world also, except a few exceptions. I don't want to go into detail. Anyhow, this is the goal set for the Muslim Ummah for all times to come. But it is essential, and that is going to be the subject of my talk tomorrow, inshallah, after Zohr. This, qital, which is the final stage, it comes, after some prerequisites have been fulfilled. Without fulfilling those prerequisites, if you go to war, you are fool. And this point actually is most misunderstood by the Muslims of today. What are those prerequisites? What was the basic methodology of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So today, even if there will be a movement, a struggle, in the footsteps of the struggle of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first of all, you have to pass through those 4 stages. Dawah, Tazkiyah and Tarbiyah, then Tanzeem, then passive resistance, active resistance, and then, if there is, field, and if there is possibility and feasibility, go to war. Or if it is not feasible, what is the alternative? This I am going to discuss tomorrow, inshallah, after Zohr. Anyhow, this is the goal set for the Muslim Ummah. This was not only for the Sahaba, for the days of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As I told you, these are universal and eternal principles of Islam. If the deen of Allah is not established, it is fitna. It is rebellion against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This world belongs to Him. This earth belongs to Him. He is the rightful ruler. Whosoever is ruling is in revolt against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whosoever is faithful to Allah, he must fight him out. And if he doesn't, he is not sincere with Allah. He is not faithful with Allah. But how to fight out? What is the methodology? That is a different thing. But this must be understood, that this is the goal. Islam is not a religion in the common sense of the word. It's a deen. It's a whole system of life. And the system of life is that which is established actually. Not which you can read in the books, or you can only profess through your tongue. وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ. This ayah actually appeared first in Surah Al-Baqarah. Here one word has been added. Just remember, in the 24th section of Surah Al-Baqarah, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ. Here it has been intensified more. قَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. No exception. Even if one aspect of human life is outside the deen of Allah, this is not the total establishment of the deen of Allah. Our religion, Islam, is not only a private affair of the individuals. It's a total system.